Good morning and welcome in to the IDP show live. I am one of your co-hosts, Jay Kohlhagen, joined by the seemingly perfect last week, Boo Bam. Jeff, how are you this morning, sir? How are you doing?
Wow, you really set the bar high this morning.
I'm just observing at this point. That is all I'm doing. You're the one making all these beautiful picks, good sir. So I mean, there's nothing I can do about that. So what you ready for this start of playoff weekend? You got a lot of guys in. You ready or a lot of teams in the playoffs?
Yeah, I'm actually done really well. I'm in the playoffs in 6 of my 7 dynasty leagues, so need a little help this week. Got a couple buys, but those are always nice. But unfortunately, you can't have buys in every one of them. So we're gonna have to pray for some Dallas Cowboys, which is, as a Packer fan, it's pretty hard to do. So
awesome. All right. Well, hey, let's find out who others are maybe setting their prayers on this week and start with some questions right away. We got a couple preloaded, so we'll run through the ones we got preloaded here from other channels. You can always send them to us on the idpshow.com. You can hit us up on X or Twitter, however you reference it, with questions ahead of time. But otherwise, shoot whatever you got in the chat, guys, and we'll start running through everything. So at the top here from Donald, need 2 of 3 on Josh Metellus, Dax Hill, and Reed Blankenship. So two of the 3 have already gone. So I know Dax Hill had a pretty solid game. I did not see Metellus's stat line yet, but for me, I probably would have ran Dax Hill and Reed Blankenship unless you didn't have a good pivot from Blankenship due to the injury concern in Monday night. So if you went with Metellus and Hill, I probably would have been okay with that too, I guess. But so
Metellus had a decent game. He had 5 tackles and a sack, so he wasn't like he blanked you.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So that hopefully that's what they did then. I feel like that would have been the safest play, but is what it is based on the timing. So Donald also asks 2 of 4, Bobby Wagner, CJ Mosley, Patrick Queen, and Quinnen Williams, looking for the upside. So obviously scoring is a little dependent when shooting for upside, but thinking, along the lines of the big 3 scoring that we generally run around here, I think I'd probably lean Bobby Wagner and Quinnen Williams are the 2 that pop to my mind. I just don't know that Mosley, he can be a big play opportunity in the passing game. I just don't know that he consistently gets the pass rush upside that you can see from a Bobby Wagner or Patrick Queen. And obviously Quinnen Williams can just take over a game in the backfield and run defense or in the pass game. So I'd be looking at Bobby Wagner and Quinnen Williams as my 2, looking at the top there. So, but whoops. So I just got notification. So these are from last week. So sorry, I did not. This is what happens when I miss a week. I get stuff screwed up, guys. So these are old questions, but it looks like we got some new ones firing in. So let's see here. Right off the top, we got Chris, Devin Lloyd, or Aaron Jones, Ernest Jones. You got me thinking Packers, Jeff, already.
Right.
So who do the Rams got? The Rams have the Washington Commanders, and the Jaguars have Baltimore. Oof. I love Ernest Jones this week, but I'm gonna go Ernest Jones over Devin Lloyd. It's close for me though. I could definitely see Devin Lloyd. I think that game script against Baltimore could quickly turn into one where they run the ball, but I like Ernest Jones' consistency, and I think that he still delivers enough that he has big play upside too, right? So the range of outcomes I think is strong on either. I give the nod to Ernest Jones. I'd like a 60-40. It's a pretty close split here for me.
Very much the same. And Devin Lloyd has been phenomenal the last 3 weeks. He's been just lighting up the stat sheet. So, and he's got a great matchup versus, like you said, Jake, against Baltimore. They're a top 5 matchup for opposing linebackers. Washington is a top 12 matchup right now for opposing linebackers. So you're kind of splitting hairs. Like it's pretty close. You couldn't fault you going either way, but Ernest Jones is getting 100% of snaps and he's not coming off the field anytime. So
Right, exactly. And I mean, and that's one of the biggest things. And I just feel like, not that Devin Lloyd has definitely had a really strong second year here. I mean, I know he started off his rookie year hot and then kind of faded towards the back half, and there's those types of concerns and so on and so forth. But Ernest Jones has just done it so consistently for me. In a playoff matchup, he has the upside and he has the consistency. So for me, that's what I'm looking at plugging in here, right? Because this is do or die time. These people asking these questions likely aren't on bye or aren't in the toilet bowls. But yeah, I like Ernest Jones this week. All right. Then Summer asking Brisker curl. Whoa, whoops. Are they just popping up there on okay. Brisker curl, Buddha or Jalen Thompson at DB. Let's see here. Whew, that's a tough one. I don't know. Is anything popping to you, Jeff? I gotta look here quick. Browns.
Brisker's got a groin injury, so his injury designation has me a little leery. I typically don't like starting two defensive backs from the same secondary just because I'd like to have all of the points instead of cannibalizing each other.
Mm-hmm.
Curl's got a great matchup, like we just said. The Washington's playing the Rams, so he's in a great spot, especially now with Jamin Davis out. I think he might get a little more run. He did really well when Cody Barton was out earlier this season for a couple weeks. He played a lot more in the box snaps, so he did really well. So Curl is for sure in, and probably Buddha, just for the higher floor. If Brisker is good to go, I would probably lean Curl and Brisker, but that groin injury has me a little hesitant. He didn't practice a lot this week, so.
Yeah, he was actually a did not practice on Thursday. He got a limited in on Friday, so that's trending in the right direction. Yeah, I think if I could know that Brisker was fully healthy against the Browns, I would lean him. So if you feel confident in Brisker's health, do that. Curl would be the one, given the situation that you're looking at right now and the information we have right now. It would be Curl, Brisker, and I really actually like the utilization that Thompson's getting with the injuries that they've had. It's a pretty even split in terms of box alignment between Thompson and Buddha, but Thompson generally tends to get a bit more of the slot utilization as well as a defender. So I think for me, for today, Curl, Brisker, Thompson, Buddha would be my ranking of them. So, which I think pretty much falls in line with what you're saying there, Jeff. So,
I just can't risk it. Like I have Brisker in a couple lineups and I took him out just because it's week 15. You can't afford a goose egg, or plays a couple snaps and re-injures it. So I would lean toward the healthy.
Brisker is a risker. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
That's the kind of content.
Look at you dropping. Look at you dropping.
All right. Hopefully that helps you, Summer. Good luck this week. Bill coming in with, we got the decision, boys. CJ, Jordan, or Devin. We talked about how we like Devin. Jordan Brooks, I saw last night, I think was officially cleared medically to play for Monday night. And Mosley is obviously a lock and a stalwart in the middle of that Jets defense. So anyone popping off the page here for you? I think, I like Lloyd. Brooks is, God, who do the Jets play? They got the Dolphins. I mean, for as much as that offense does, it's tough because if Tyreek Hill is truly out or limited, I really think they lean a lot more into that passing game, right? The downfield stuff is going to disappear a little bit. I'm sure they'll still have some design shots, but I mean, it's clearly different when Tyreek's in and when Tyreek's not. So if Tyreek is out officially, I would give CJ Mosley probably the nod here, actually, over everyone else. But I'm going to say that Hill is playing today. I think too much on the line for them and him. So I don't know that Mosley will get enough work in the middle of the field. Gosh, I think I lean Devin Lloyd.
I'm picking one, I'm picking Devin Lloyd too. The matchup is it's a top 5 matchup. They're gonna, Baltimore runs the ball. Even when they're not running the ball, they're running the ball with Lamar. Mosley's had a really inconsistent couple weeks for scoring. Jordan Brooks is either 38-point game or a 2-point game. It's kind of like all or nothing. Devin Lloyd's been the model of consistency over the last 4 or 5 weeks. He's got a great matchup. Ride the hot hand. My second guy would probably be Mosley though.
Okay.
Just Lloyd Mosley, like just riding, like he's a stud. He's going to have to figure it out. And like if that game script gets sideways and Miami gets up early, if Tyreek Hill does play, there could be a situation where we see a lot of, Mostert,
Wilson, playing Wilson.
Yeah. Just see a lot of running. So
yeah, I think that's fair. I'm a little indifferent there. I think we're split maybe on the 2-3, but I think we both agree Lloyd's the one. So right. So if you for Bill, if you're looking for that one to start, I think Jeff and I are pretty consistently locked in on Devin Lloyd for this week. I think I like Brooks a little more. I gut feel, I feel like the Eagles are going to run the ball a lot more. They've struggled a bit offensively. I know they've had some tougher matchups, but I think that when they've ran the ball consistently well, that's when they've dominated teams. And so I think that's just an opportunity for them to get back to that type of gameplay. So, but regardless, going down a rabbit hole, Devin Lloyd's the answer.
Jake, could you see a scenario if Hill doesn't play that they just rely more on the run? Like the Jets offense is pretty anemic and like they don't have to put up 50 points to beat them. Just where they run the ball more, Hill's out.
I definitely think so, right? They've been, right. McDaniels comes from that Shanahan tree, right? And how they've established the run and been able to just control games with the run too at times. So I think it's well within the range of possibilities. So I just, like I said, with Hill in, presumably making assumptions here at this point, that's where I land. But there's probably got to be like a 25% chance that's an outcome of today's game. So, all right, then. Oh, the Bobby Reynolds. Look at this. Aaron Donald or Justin Matabuke.
IDP
also
royalty.
Now that it's vintage. It is right. I gotta get an Eagles one now, apparently. So alrighty. So you got obviously the legend in Aaron Donald here versus the new hotness in Justin Matabuke. Who do you got this week?
I thought I saw something last night where Donald was questionable. Like he had a little designation tag about like health wise. So that has a little pause for me.
Mm-hmm.
Matabike has just been playing like lights out too. He's like, is he the one that has a sack like in like 59 straight games or something like that? It's something ridiculous.
Yeah, if it was a half sack, I think it kept he had like a 10-week streak or something like that with one half sack in the middle of it. So that's the only reason you got to qualify it that way. Aaron Donald had officially a DNP on Friday. They say on the official report, not injury related, just resting, groin tightness. I don't know how that's not injury related. Like I'm never like, oh, my groin's just tired, like I'm gonna go lay down. So I'm confused on that designation from the Rams, but I think I like Matabuke today because they don't have the Bears. Who do they have? They got the Jaguars. Yeah, I still like that. I don't think Trevor Lawrence's mobility is back to 100%. They've gotten into pass heavy game scripts recently with their team. So I like Matabuke this week. They're both positive matchups overall. The slight injury designation question does give me some concern with Aaron Donald. I think he still goes out there and does what he needs to do. But as quote unquote wrong as it's going to feel to take out Aaron Donald in the playoffs, I would be starting Matabuke this week. Is that where you land, Jeff? Or you?
Same, yeah, yep,
yeah, okay,
exactly the same reasons. Yeah, and then playing Matabuke on the outside too. I think that's just a better positive. Instead of plugging up that interior all the time that Donald does, he's done more things for Kobe Turner than he's done for himself this season. So,
yep, awesome. All right, then Noah coming in. Who would you bench? Dexter Lawrence, and he's got the Saints. Brian Burns, got the Falcons, and Jermaine Johnson against the Dolphins. My gut.
Burns had an injury tag too, so
yeah, my gut is leaning Jermaine Johnson though, and that's not because of lack of talent. I think I like the matchup overall for Burns out there against the Falcons. I think it could get easily into a heavy run game script too, though, because that's how everyone has been beating the Panthers. They just consistently run the ball, so it does limit that upside. Jermaine Johnson he's still rotational, right? I mean, that's just how they run that there. So he naturally has limited opportunities there as well. And then we talked about that game script could go multiple ways depending on how that lineup looks. So if I had to bench someone with what I know right now, I feel I'm leaning Jermaine Johnson, Brian Burns number 2, Lawrence is locked into my lineup. The New Orleans Saints offensive line has done nothing to give me any confidence for any D line that they're going up against.
Yeah, Jermaine Johnson over the last 4 weeks has played 64, 69, 60, and 71%. So he's getting a pretty healthy run.
Okay. Thank you for updating that. Yeah,
I'm just so high on Johnson. It's hard for me to sit him.
Yeah.
But I when you have this much talent, you're going against Burns is like huge upside. Dexter Lawrence, like you said, as a primo matchup. What time do they play? Are they all early starts?
I did not have the schedule.
Carolina's at noon.
Yep.
We have
the Jets.
Jets are at noon.
Yep.
And then the Saints and
they're also noon. Yeah, they're all noon games.
Okay. Well, at least you'll know that injury designations then. Yeah, I would probably go with the same you said, Jake. Sit Jermaine Johnson unless you hear different about Brian Burns. So
yeah. All right. Then
thanks, Noah.
Bill shouting out just thanks. Yep. Eric Harms, always good for a disgusting question. Which one will give you a chance to talk about how Young has been horrible from a fantasy football perspective since he joined? Arden Key or Chase Young? The Titans have the Texans. I should have known that. My goodness. Yeah, I mean, Chase Young really has. So I talked about him in my Start Sit article a couple weeks ago. And he was a fade for me because of that exact reason. He's essentially, I don't want to say a pass rush specialist, but I mean that's clearly where they're utilizing him. So I don't know if that's getting up to speed or whatever it is there, coming over to a team mid-season, in middle of the season or what. But yeah, between those two, and the Niners have the Cardinals, right? Against yeah, I do think I would lean Arden Key at this point. It's just Arden Key has been consistent and done well with his reps out there. He's produced and he's won his matchups too, right? So maybe it's not always that he's gotten huge, box score numbers, but he's consistently putting up solid pass rush numbers, consistently putting up solid pressure numbers. Yeah, I would lean Arden Key at this point.
Yeah, you're not going to find anyone who's fading Chase Young more than me. Like I've been out on him all season long, like since preseason. Just the injury, the hype, it just hasn't lived up to it, and he hasn't done anything. And since he's come back, or since he's been traded to San Francisco, he's played one time over 65% of snaps. He's been 46, 50, and 49 the last 3 weeks. Just not getting opportunity. And there's been a couple several zeros for stat lines in those weeks. So Key has been playing very, very well for Tennessee. He gets a really nice matchup this week versus Houston. They might have Davis Mills, right? Jake, is that who's rolling out for him this week? Or no, it's
Case Keenum.
Case Keenum. So yeah, I think and possibly no Nico Collins.
Yeah, he's still a game time decision, but I can't see him running out there.
Yeah, so it's gonna. I just think that's a recipe for Key to tee off. So I just think that he's your solid play. Sell Chase Young.
I love it. All right, then Office Depot coming in. Morning, guys. Sleeper standard. Are we starting Justin Burns, combining them here together? Brian Burns over Justin Matabuke. That is going to be close for me, but actually I'm leaning Justin. I think I'm leaning Justin. I think regardless at this point. So I apologize, Office Depot, if you weren't in right away at the start. We did a little chat over Matabuke and the success he's had and how that's just been season long at this point. And, overall they have a very positive matchup against the Jaguars. So for me, yeah, I'm pretty confident I'm starting Matabuke over Brian Burns this week.
Same. Not only is it a great matchup, but also that injury designation. I'm very leery of starting guys on injury tags, especially in the playoffs. It's not like you have next week to right the ship. So play the hot hand. So.
Yep. All right. And then you're calling out the ranks there. So yep, I think we are their Office Depot. That's unfortunately what we're saying. So, and I'm a Burns believer. It's just when a guy's hot on a year, you got to kind of ride that through. So, Rogaroo calling out. Good morning. Same as Office Depot. Is it safe to play AD? I mean, that's something in terms of, what does the inactives actives look like? Like I said, I've personally, I generally read injury reports every single week, because I'm a degenerate like that. And I've never seen someone get an NIR with a DNP, right? So not injury related designation with a full did not practice on a Friday. I've never seen that. And then have like if it said veteran rest only, I'd be fine. But the fact that it said that there was groin tightness, that definitely gives me some concern, right? And in that Rams game, did we look at when that one is slated for? That's a 3:00 game. I mean, if you have a pivot option, I'm pivoting personally. And that's disappointing because obviously Aaron Donald can take over a game still at this point, especially against a very favorable matchup in the Washington Commanders. So yeah, if you can find maybe Kobe Turner, right, of the Rams. So maybe that's someone that just people haven't picked up because he's a little bit up and down rookie, not a household name. Maybe you can have that as a pivot option. Then you're still getting some of the benefits of that positive matchup there. So I don't know. We kind of talked about this already, Jeff. I don't know if you have something more.
No, it all depends on who's the pivot, like you said. Like, is it safe to play him? Maybe, depending on who's your alternative. Who's your second option? That's kind of all it kind of runs down to is where you're at with the second play. So,
yep. So good luck with that, Derege. I hopefully he plays and hopefully you can start him. But if not, I hope you have a pivot that makes your day a little bit easier. So, all right, we got Ben coming in. Good morning, guys. Two-parter. So if Aziz is out, Gibbons becomes a must start. Also, down in a playoff matchup, would you consider Brian Young or Dexter Lawrence for the sack upside over Cody Barton? So Gibbons clearly moves into a 100% role in my opinion, just based on how they've rolled them out there, and what we've seen from Gibbons so far. So I think that's pretty safe to say. I don't have any concerns about that. Do you have any pause, Jeff, about the thought of Gibbons stepping in?
No, after the Titans cut Monty Rice a couple weeks ago, Gibbons kind of stepped in a little bit bigger role. And if Ajit Al-Shahir is truly out with his illness, then he's just going to be gobbling up tackles. He's going to be the only linebacker, really.
Yep.
And as far as the second part, I know you love Dexter Lawrence, and that would be huge upside. Cody Barton's a safe floor. He's going to get you, 4 or 5 tackles. Nothing in the splash play department. So if you need a home run, Dexter Lawrence is probably your guy, huh?
Yeah, I would too. I think it's it's not on my scoring sheet. It's not a huge positive matchup, but I think it's enough of one that just Dexter Lawrence's talent plus the Saints. I consider the interior of their offensive line pretty weak overall based on what we've seen so far this year. That I would be shooting for the upside with Dexter Lawrence. Byron Young against the Rams. Or excuse me, not against the Rams, for the Rams against the Commanders, definitely has that opportunity as well. Gosh, I would definitely start one of them over Cody Barton. I think I would lean Dexter Lawrence slightly over Byron Young.
Especially if all of these questions too, Aaron Donald questionable. How much of a difference maker does he make along that defensive line? True. Like if he's truly out, well, all of a sudden now we don't have to double and triple team Aaron Donald, but we can stay true to our box. We don't have to keep a tight end to chip. And then all of a sudden those guys on the exterior don't become as efficient as they were with Donald in. So it's kind of a multi-step question or a multi-step answer to your one question.
Yep. So yeah, definitely a lot of variance in there, and because you have someone in Dexter Lawrence and the Giants play at noon, I think we figured out. Yep. I would just roll with Dexter Lawrence at this point. All right,
Good luck, Ben.
Yes, good luck. Summer circling back around now with AD or Jonathan Grenard. A lot of AD questions. I mean, that's definitely putting some concern out there. I am definitely a fan of Grenard. In the same sense, though, right? Will Anderson is out this week, so now he doesn't have his running mate on the opposite side there. Titans are they're slightly susceptible on the edge. Will Levis is definitely a quarterback who is on the higher end, on the bottom half, I guess, however you want to look at it in terms of holding on to the ball, right? He holds on to it a little bit longer than others, which is always something I'm looking at and prefer in my edge rushers. So I'd probably go Grenard at this point over AD. It's not by a ton. But again, it's that injury designation that's giving me a lot of pause, and the fact that he's playing at 3 and Grenard's your noon game, right? I know a lot of times it's hard to be like, oh, could I stomach AD going off, right, having 2 sacks and whatever on my bench? I mean, yeah, that might be tough, but can you stomach AD being in your lineup and having 0 because all of a sudden he gets hurt in the game early on, or something truly makes him inactive, come that 90 minutes before the kickoff. So, if you can find something else to pivot to again, right? Then a Byron Young, a Kobe Turner, someone else on that team. I think you can take that chance because Donald has that. But all the variables we've already talked about this morning, I'm going to lean Jonathan Grenard is who I would be plugging into my lineup.
I'm 100%. I wrote on him last week in my waiver wire article. He's had double-digit points in the last 2 weeks. He has back-to-back weeks with sacks. He's one of those streaky players we've seen every year in his 5-year career. He goes on these runs where he gets like 4 or 5 games in a row where he gets a sack, and this is a perfect time to play him. He's probably on the start of that streak right now. So,
yep. All right, Rogaroo, how do you guys feel about EJ Speed rest of the season? He's put up some really impressive numbers here ever since they've moved on from Shaquille Leonard. So I mean, I think he's probably a locked and loaded LB2 at this point, just based on snaps and the efficiency he's shown. So, I mean, you're playing with a little bit of fire, potentially, I guess, just because he hasn't had, a full season or a half season to produce these numbers. But I mean, that's what he's been doing with the opportunity he's been given. So we can only work with the sample size we have. I think, you could see games where that variance flips a little bit, right? Like where maybe Zaire is getting a bit heavier tackle performance, but I think you're pretty well safe with Speed overall, right? I mean, he's going to be an 85, 90+% snap guy at a minimum, I think, barring injury. And like I said, his tackle efficiency has been really, really good. The opportunity he's had. So
yeah, in the last 2 games he's played snaps and he's played, he's actually had more tackles than Zaire Franklin. He had that 1 week in between where he had the ankle or whatever injury, but he came back last week. He had out tackled Zaire Franklin in week 13. He was injured in week 14, but then he out tackled Zaire Franklin in week 15. So definitely arrows pointing up. He's getting a run. So yeah, he's easily an LB2 with high upside for me going the rest of the way.
Yeah. Then Derege, hopefully I'm saying that right. I apologize too. I'm terrible at reading. But so another question here. Rank these 3 for today's games. Bosa, obviously not Joey because he can't stay in the field. Aaron Donald and Myles Garrett, 6 point for sack, 1 point for solo tackle. So definitely more of a big play style league. The Niners have the Cardinals. Browns have the Bears, right?
The Cardinals are a much different team the last few weeks with Murray back. They're sustaining more drives. Murray is definitely more prone to hold on to the ball a little longer, running around, trying to get sacked. So we look at like year to date data. The Cardinals look like a historically bad matchup, but if we look at more recent, like the last 3 weeks, they're a much better matchup for opposing defenses. Those division games always seem to like bring out the best in players. We've already talked a ton about Aaron Donald kind of being up and down with his weeks. So, and it's Cleveland gets the best matchup versus the Fields today. So for me, it would be Fields, or it'd be Myles Garrett, Bosa, and then just the question mark with Donald makes it an easy third for me.
Yep. Yeah, I'm locked in with 80 as the third. Myles Garrett has still played pretty strong these last couple of weeks, even with the shoulder injury, I think it was, that he suffered a few weeks back. So that's the only thing just giving me a little bit of hesitation. I mean, Nick Bosa slightly outperforming Myles Garrett, in the analytics side, like in terms of win rate and stuff over the last 4 weeks. So again, is Myles Garrett. I agree he has the more favorable matchup against the Bears. I think I'd go Bosa personally. I'd go Bosa, Garrett, Donald. But I'm totally with you though. I like the Bears matchup overall. So if you have the confidence in Myles Garrett, he's the one for you then. If since you're asking and you have a little bit of hesitation, Bosa feels like the safer floor with a little bit more upside overall, just all factors considered.
What an awesome defensive lineman room to have to decide. Right? Wow.
Right. Yes, these are the good problems to have. Thanks, Derek. Ed asking Levante David or Devin Lloyd for D spot. Tampa Bay has the Packers. To me, I'm Devin Lloyd. Even with Devin White questionable, I think whatever he has, David coming back off the groin injury, he still kind of looked a little slow last week. Not that he looked terrible, but just Lloyd's been on fire recently and consistent, and I just like his matchup better too. I don't know what the Packers are going to do running the ball. I don't even know if they'll have a running back and that's a pass funnel defense too. So and they got enough weapons on the outside. Yeah, I mean it's pretty easily Devin Lloyd for me.
Same. Yeah, the matchup's great. He's been on fire. He's been, to quote The Hangover, you never leave the table when you're on a heater. So.
Oh man. All right. Thanks, Ed. Move Noah Panak or wait for the Kyle Hamilton news. So when the Ravens must be Sunday night. Yeah, they're the night game. Oof. Let me look up. I gotta look up Baltimore here. I gotta look up the injury report again now.
I would be shocked if he played just because of how quickly he was kind of like ruled out or didn't come back at all last week.
Yeah.
They do get a really nice matchup. Jacksonville is like a top 5 matchup for opposing safeties.
Mm-hmm. And he's really been just living in that slot defender role too.
Yes. Yeah,
playing like an overhang linebacker type thing. Yeah, I mean he was limited all week. I would.
And the Saints aren't a terrible matchup for opposing secondary or for safeties either. So Panak isn't like a terrible pivot. And like we said before, I think it's you can't afford a 0 or like playing a handful of snaps and then re-injuring and seeing him hobbling off the field. And, especially late in the game, or especially late in your fantasy matchup when you're down maybe like 5 or 6 points and I just need an average game out of Hamilton, and he gets 2 tackles and then he's down on the field and you just see your whole season go up because he didn't play the whole game.
Yeah. I would. I'm a huge Hamilton believer and love the talent, but yeah, I'd probably start Panak there. So it's not. I'm not super confident in it. Like I don't feel great putting him in my lineup, but those are the options you have at this point. So good luck, Noah. Hopefully that comes through for you. Office Depot, thanks. Starting Matabuke. Oh, go ahead, Jeff.
Only thing I was thinking, like with Noah's question, if there was somebody on the waivers, like if there was like a, if a Jordan Love was on the waivers because he's
Jordan Howden.
No, for Seattle on Monday night.
Oh, Julian Love.
Sorry. Yeah, Julian. Yep. If there was like a chance that he was available, like if you got the bad news or like maybe a Geno Stone, pick up a Geno Stone for Hamilton, because if Hamilton doesn't go, Stone is a great pivot. So
Yep. Nope, that's a good call out. There's anything. Thank you. Yep, appreciate you guys always popping in. Zia, Hoshe, Luvu, Barton, or Dotson. Down big, so looking for upside. I'm assuming that's Hoyt, maybe Michael Hoyt, right? Is that probably?
Yeah,
that's what I'm guessing. Okay,
defensive lineman for the Rams.
Yep. Luvu, Barton, or Dotson. If just looking for one, but we can try and run through this list. I mean, if you're looking for upside, it's Hoyt or Hecht, or however you say it. It's Hecht and Louvu are the only two that have the big upside for me, because they both have the pass rush upside. Dodson still not, necessarily 100% player. So, I mean, you're talking he could all of a sudden just be getting 60, 70% of the snaps at best in that matchup. So I know it's the Cowboys and could get into a shootout, and so there could just be pure volume chances, but that offense has done well to hold on to the ball and protect it. So to me, it's probably Dotson is fourth, Barton's third. If I had to pick one there, I mean, Hoyt's probably got the best chance at a 2-sack day over Louvu, but Louvu probably has the best chance at, a 1-sack day with 8 tackles. So, I mean, I guess depending on your scoring, right? If you get decent scoring for that, it's kind of more balanced. Louvu is my answer, but if you're big play heavy, right, like 1 point for tackle, and then your sacks pile up to 8, 9, 10 points when you stack all the scoring on top of it, I'd probably go Hoyt then. I know that's where I land. Jeff, how about you?
Yeah, like you said, Jake, it's depending on what the big play scoring is or what the scoring looks like. If it's tackle heavy, I might almost be inclined to lean Barton. He's just playing.
I can see that,
100% of snaps. He's never coming off the field. So if you're getting 2 points for a tackle, 1 for an assist, you get 3 for those turnover kind of plays. He's going to have that upside over Mayo in that defense, where Mayo is just going to be kind of like just piling tackles up, but Barton will be the one blitzing and stuff like that. So if tackles are rewarded well, Barton might be your best chance looking for some points. Like you said, Dodson's not a full-time player. Louvu has been playing a lot of snaps, but he just has been very inefficient the last couple of weeks, not getting some points. And then, again, like if it's a sack-heavy league, then maybe you're leaning Hockett or however you.
Yeah, I always call it Hoyt, but then I felt like someone told me that was wrong, so I never.
It's Italian. It's Italian. So,
hopefully that helps you think through that. If you got more questions or follow up, definitely shoot them into the chat. Office Depot, Devin White if he plays, or Isaiah McDuffie. I mean, this is a Green Bay Packer one, so I'm going to look to you, Jeff.
Well, thankfully they play sooner than later, and then we also have the weekly. Is Quay Walker going to play? Is Devontae Campbell going to play? And if they are playing, then McDuffie just gets relegated to the sidelines and doesn't play any snaps at all.
Yep.
So I know that they were both they were dinged up this week during practices with that. So, and you already said Devin White was possibly out. Did I catch that?
I think he came in with a questionable designation. I'm just double checking that right now. Yeah, he's questionable, but he did get 2 full practices in Thursday and Friday.
Oh, that's trending in the right direction. I'm definitely going White.
Yeah, and Quay Walker. So Campbell was officially off the injury report end of week here. Quay Walker is coming in with the questionable designation himself. He was a DNP, then limited. So, I mean, trending towards likely he's gonna Campbell and Quay would be the lead guys. So yeah, I think at this point, the fact that Devin got 2 full practices in and they're still playing for their division too, like that NFC South, everyone's tied at 6 and 7, besides the Panthers. Yeah, I think that's Devin White pretty easily, I think, is what we're going to land on, right?
Yeah, and the Packers are playing for a playoff spot too. So if those guys are available, I'm feeling all hands on deck. So if those guys are remotely healthy, they're in this week. So
yep, yeah, same on that side. So yep. All right, hopefully that helps you, Office Depot. Ben, thank you. Great point regarding O-line assignments regarding B. Young. If that was out, that's Jeff for you, man. I told you this guy comes in fire. Like his coat, he's gonna have to get a new jacket because I'm just constantly riding his coattails. I'm gonna wear that stuff out. Great point. You guys are awesome.
Easy.
You're welcome, Derje. Always happy to chop it up with everybody in here. Another thank you. Geno Stone is available. Remember that thing I said like 3 seconds ago about Jeff being awesome? Just play that back in your heads. Chris coming in.
I'm gonna put that on mute for my wife.
I have Brisker from Chicago. Should I start him or Jordan Howden from the Saints? Go ahead. Look at you. Go ahead.
Yeah,
sorry.
Howden's been super hot the last couple of weeks. He's been one of the hottest secondary pieces ever since Marcus May has been out. Howden stepped in, and he's labeled as a free safety, but he's really not playing a free safety role. They have a very split schematics with their safeties, both playing towards line of scrimmage and deep with Teron Matthew or whatever you call it, or
Honey Badger.
Yep, Honey Badger. So, and with Brisker having that limited week with the groin and stuff like that, like we said with Hamilton, you just hate to see your fantasy season go down when you need a few points from Brisker and he's hobbled with a groin. Those are those kind of injuries that can fire up, like the quads, the hammies, the groins. All it takes is like one play and then those kind of get fired back up. So I'd be a little hesitant to start Brisker, especially if you have a great play with Howden. So
yeah, right. So I mean, I'm with you, right? So I mean, Matthew sees slightly more box utilization than Howden, but he still gets enough that he's running out there and has a strong tackle floor. I totally understand, right? Brisker is just coming off a 17 tackle week. So it's very hard. I think 13 solos. That's very hard to put that into onto your bench, right? And potentially see that go off. But that feels more like the anomaly to me, right? Like Brisker's still talented, right? Like I'm not saying he can't do that because obviously he proved he can. But I mean, Tremaine Edmonds, TJ Edwards, right? Those guys in front of him are still tackle machines, right? Especially Edwards, very, very efficient tackler. You look what Jordan Howden has in front of him and Demario Davis and Pete Werner. Solid IDPs in their own right, but they're very inefficient tacklers, right? Those are not the guys that are going to go out there and gobble up that tackle floor from you the way that I think a TJ Edwards or a Tremaine Edmonds can. So I like Howden as a solid play overall. I think he's just got a really safe floor. And I mean, maybe doesn't have the big play upside that a Brisker has or that a Brisker has proven. But with that injury designation and kind of where it stands today, I was going to come in right away with Howden as well here. So I'm again going to just ride Jeff's coattails until I actually get a championship here this year. So good luck, Chris. Hopefully you're Chris Myers, former center for the Houston Texans. Just throwing out my early 2000s Texans lineup knowledge there. Steven's coming in with Kayvon Thibodeau or Bosa. The Giants have, I got to double check again. I know we've talked about them already. They got the Saints. So we just talked about the Saints.
The Saints are a top 10 matchup for opposing D linemen. So that's a kind of a pivot. And he's been playing pretty well too.
He has, and he sees Max Crosby light type of snap numbers too, right? Max Crosby, last year he played like 8 games in a row or something, 100% snap, something crazy like that. Thibodeau is one of the few other defensive linemen that's doing anything even close to that, right? Playing 80, 90% of snaps. Now he's not very efficient as a tackler, so he doesn't have that upside, not the upside, that floor that we'd like to see from him based on usage. But pure numbers at this point is just insane. And this is why I'm hesitating, is because Thibodeau is what my gut is telling me when it just feels weird to put him in over Bosa. But yeah, my gut is leaning ever so slightly, like 55-45 Thibodeau here, just based on matchups, utilizations, and like you talked about earlier, Jeff, the Cardinals offense is not the same Cardinals offense from the first 10 weeks, right? Like that's not what we should be using as a measuring stick by any point. It is completely different at this point. So yeah, I'm gonna recommend Kayvon this week. Jeff,
I'm on board too. Your floor is probably a little lower with Kayvon, but your ceiling is elite level compared to Bosa. I like Bosa's like very safe. He's kind of got like kind of going here, but Thibodeau's here, and I'm gonna swing for the home run with Thibodeau.
I like it because I agree with it. Good luck, Steven. Office Depot coming in, love it. White, thank you. Yep, Devin White. So it's easy to get lost in prior to fantasy points and not consider their role this week. 100%. And we sometimes we miss those own things. That's why I love working with Jeff. Like we keep each other honest, and just talking through these things here with you guys, I think helps us get to some good spots. So again, best of luck this week. Chris coming in with Carl Granderson or Justin Matabuke. That good sir, is an excellent question, and that's why you asked it. Let me double check on one thing here, Jeff. I don't know if you got something off the top of your head.
Just thinking, Chris, like scoring, like is this a sack heavy league or tackle heavy league? If it's tackle heavy, Granderson has been an amazing run of tackles for the season. So if it's a more tackle heavy league rewarding, Granderson might be a good option. It's a decent matchup for him, not great. But if it's a sack heavy league, then it's probably more Matabike than it is Granderson for me. So
yeah, I mean, even I'm Matabike pretty much across the board here. I think the thing that scares me a little bit is Granderson has really, you're right, he's been on a solid tackle floor lately, but he's really cooled off over the last few weeks in terms of pressures and stuff. I know he had a sack last week against Carolina as a very positive matchup, but just, his win rate over the last 4 weeks is under 9%. And that just gives me pause for concern. I know the Giants had some offensive line struggles as well in their own rights. They also were dealing with a lot of injuries, and I feel like that offensive line has been able to heal up a bit, and that they're working within the structure of what they have with Tommy DeVito. So I think I'm Justin pretty much solid here. Like I said, across the board, scoring wise, and any of those other considerations. Then Chris, thank you. Fingers crossed. Keep up the great work. Yeah, always happy to answer the questions. And yes, best of luck, sir. Noah coming back around. Would you rather Howden, Panak, or Kyle Hamilton, Geno Stone? I'm going to take a guess that Jeff is going to say Jordan Howden.
He's my one. Bringing it, Jake. Might as well. Oh, I'll see you later. I'm gone.
Look, I could just do this for you.
Yeah, you can just
yeah, I think it would Howden. Yeah,
Howden, the Baltimore Ravens, and then Pinnock for me.
Yep.
All three are decent options. All three are like better than average options going into this week. I know that Kyle Hamilton, like you said, is playing a lot of that like hybrid linebacker role, like in that slot spot. Mm-hmm. When he left last week, Geno Stone had playing a little bit more of that role than Marcus Williams did. Marcus Williams is their more traditional, deeper safety in coverage. So Stone would definitely get those in the box snaps. But Howden has just been on a tremendous heater for the Saints. And like we said before, the Giants are a decent matchup for opposing secondary players. So riding the hot hand and great matchup. Yep.
Nope. I mean, like you called it, Howden, Ravens, Pinnock, right? So Ravens being that Hamilton Stone pivot option. So then coming in, Zia, Devin White, or Nicholas Morrow.
And then she had a follow-up question for 4 points and a 3.5 for a sack. So
go ahead. I'm just going to check something here.
Yep. I know with Zach Cunningham being already listed as out, Morrow is going to have 1,000% snap share this week. He's going to be on every single play. 4 tackles is an amazing amount of points. Morrow's had 4 really good games in a row, even with the addition of Shaq Leonard coming in. And now with Morrow being out, I don't see him coming off the field at all. They got the
Seahawks.
Not a great matchup. They're not as Pete Carroll run heavy as they were. But I still think with 4 tackles per those sacks are maybe once, twice a game. Whereas the tackles, Morrow could easily have 10 tackles in this game. So I'm leaning Morrow pretty safely in this one.
Yeah. And Nicholas Morrow isn't exactly known as the model of efficiency when it comes to tackles, but I think you're right, Jeff. I mean, Leonard hasn't shown that he is either. He's not, the maniac like he used to be. It's Morrow pretty easily. You look at what Devin White has done. He's also relatively inefficient. I think he's, per PFF, he's only topped 10 tackles one time, and it was literally the first game of the season. Ever since then, we've seen plenty of games where he's delivered very underwhelming numbers there. He's not the pass rush specialist that we saw from his early years either. I think it's Morrow pretty easily at this point.
we mentioned it before too, Jake, about how other players kind of key in this. The Buccaneers defensive line isn't what it used to be either. Like,
No.
And Vita Vea is out again this week. That just
Okay,
is one
I was going
more.
to say, is he officially out? I know he was.
I know he didn't play last week, and that had a huge, with their defensive as a whole, just run stopping and everything else. So if he's not there plugging up bodies and stuff like that, that makes it also harder for that second level to get in on pressure. So
right,
Morrow's
three did not practice for Vea, and he's officially doubtful. So yeah, I mean that
makes Morrow even safer. And Morrow's had 5, 12, 8, and 6 tackles the last 3 weeks. So if you look at that with 4 points per tackle, those are 20-point games out of a linebacker position. That's pretty tough to replicate it for sacks. So
yep. So yeah, I think we're pretty locked in Morrow here. I need Morrow to bust for me to survive in my personal league. So
it's one of those where he can get 8 tackles, but not 9, right? He can get
yeah. Right. So yeah, but Morrow's should be locked into your lineup there. I think Zia. Summer coming back around. Need 1 DB and 2 flex out of Blankenship, Duggar, Bell, Elshair, Caden Ellis, or Denzel Perryman. All right. So I guess let's start DB, right? So who do you got to lock in at DB between Blankenship, Duggar, Bell? Blankenship's a tough one, right? With the injury.
He was cleared. He was totally officially cleared off his concussion. Yep. So he's back in. A huge matchup. He's been lights out all season when he's played full games. It would be tough to not have him in.
Yep.
So I for him, he's my for sure DB.
Yep. Same. I mean, for just for the sake of talking through it, I think she's got him in order. At least for me, it's Blankenship, Duggar, Bell. I just think that Duggar, who even though he plays half of his snaps deep, I think in a matchup against the Chiefs when they need to take care of Travis Kelce, because that's really the only weapon, I think we see Duggar just utilized a bit more in that role, as he's kind of like their athlete or their weapon on that side of the ball defensively. That I think that you'll see Duggar there, but I still like Blankenship. He's proven it too many times that he is the right play. So I think like Jeff said, yeah, he cleared concussion protocol, no designation at all going into Monday. So we're comfortable there. So then I guess, what do we flex out of the rest of those guys? We've talked Elshair has the injury concern potentially.
The illness, yeah. Is Nate, have you heard anything about Nate Landman? Is he back?
He is questionable, I thought, because I had to start him. I had to start Jack Campbell or Nate Landman in a league yesterday, and I put in Campbell just because I could not find anything about Nate Landman that gave me confidence. And it's kind of that same thing, right? Like, am I going to take the 0 for because that was a 32 team league, so there was no pivot options. So I took the points there. I mean, so that structure of that league made that different. I mean, there's a solid chance Landman plays because he's a questionable designation, and he, I think he had limited practices most of the week. He was limited the whole week. So if Landman's out, it's definitely Ellis because they just have nothing else talent-wise in that linebacker room. Yep. I mean, so same thing if we're picking based on what we know. I think for me it's Ellis and Perryman at this point, just because you don't know what you're going to get from Elshair. Yep. But if Elshair is healthy and we have the ability to switch, because those are both noon games, I think, right? The Titans.
I do like Perryman this week with Cashman out. Cashman's already been ruled out, so Perryman's probably going to get 100% run this week alongside Christian Harris.
100%. Agreed.
Yeah, 100. Yeah. So I'm thinking and I always like starting linebackers over secondary players, although Duggar's kind of a hybrid secondary, basically playing linebacker anyway, but it's so hard.
Box snaps have definitely been trending down though this year too. Like he's getting 100% snaps now, but instead of like a 50% box player, he's now like a 40% box player. And over the course of the season, that adds up. So I'm with you though. Perryman's locked and loaded as one of those flexes. So then it comes down to, I think we both agree, Ellis or Aziz. And my flow chart looks like Ellis is in. If Aziz comes back and they say at game time he's fully healthy, that 90 minutes before he's active and he's good to go, I'd put in Elshair over Ellis.
Yeah, I can't argue that at all. That's makes sense, especially snap sharing going forward. So, just to deal with so many injuries right now, and these games being stretched out over 4 or 5 days, it does make it tough because then I need upside. So
Yep.
Are you starting guys that you normally wouldn't just because, you're like, I gotta hit a home run on this one. So,
Yep. So as a football fan, right, like I'm like, this is great. I got Thursday, I got Saturday, I got Sunday, I got Monday. But as a fantasy player, right, it's like, oh God, how do I
yep.
how do I figure out my lineups here? Oh man. All right. Rest of the season, sleeper standard scoring. Pick 2, Brian Branch, Jalen Petre, or Devin Witherspoon.
Well,
I mean, oh, go ahead.
Yeah. If I'm a Chase Young fader, I'm as equally a Petrie fader, like all season long. Like, again, like we go back to like that the research of whoever finishes as the DB1 in a season the next year. There's only been 2 times in the last like decade that they've repeated a top 10 performance the following season. So I was way out on Petrie even before the season started. Just he was really poor tackling efficiency last season. They brought in a lot more pieces on that defense. He had a lot of big plays last year, a lot of turnovers. So, is what it is. But kind of looking forward, Branch has been playing really, really solid.
Yeah.
Real
I'm a
football.
big Branch guy. Yeah.
Really solid real football. I don't know if it's always translated to the box scores for fantasy. Like he's been kind of like trending up and down. Witherspoon is really big play dependent. I think that offense does enough in Seattle that they play a lot of positive game script for him to where he's going to be getting opportunities where teams are going to have to continue to score. So,
yeah, I mean, the biggest one, right, is Witherspoon got hurt last week, came off the field after only playing like a handful of snaps. Looks like he's officially questionable for Monday. So for this week, I would probably still plug in Petre and Branch just because I don't know what we're going to get from Witherspoon. But
and
I
Branch
agree.
already played, so
True, right? Yep. But so I know overall the question was rest of the season. Yeah.
Yep.
So just my gut reaction, I think aligns perfectly with you, Jeff. It's Branch and Witherspoon are the ones that we have there. Witherspoon's just been targeted a ton, whether you want to say Reek's locking Tariq Woolen or Reek Woolen, whatever he is calling himself these days. Like he's got the other side locked down. But I just think that's what the game scripts look like for Seattle, and so you got to take advantage of those opportunities. So yeah, Branch, Witherspoon rest of the season. If I had to pick one and ride with it, but yeah, I mean week to week, you definitely want to consider that. I know the Texans get the Titans again in week 17, so here's your sample size to see what it looks like, right? To help you understand what week 17 could look like in your championship week. And then I forget who they have. The Browns, I think, week 16. So it's another solid matchup overall for IDP scoring in general. The Browns offense has done a lot to allow opponents' IDPs to score well against them across the board. So
yeah, Detroit gets Minnesota and Dallas the next 2 weeks. Those are pretty solid matchups for Branch. So he's for easily number 1.
Yep. So yeah, hopefully that helps you out, Office Depot. A little bit of everything. Talking through that one. So thank you. Clint, good morning. Please pick 2 for today. Curl, McKinney, or Rayshon Jenkins. You have them in order for me. It's Cam Curl is an easy start for me. McKinney is pretty solidly over Rayshon Jenkins. Jenkins has always been peculiar to me, just as a side note. He has been one of the best in terms of alignment utilization. But he's just consistently not delivered in line with other people who get that same kind of utilization, right? So he scores slightly better maybe than other safeties at times. So you could use average maybe, but based on how many box snaps he takes, how many slot alignment he takes, defensive line snaps, he should definitely be scoring better than he does. And I think that's it's either a product of his talent or how the role he's meant to play in that defense. So sorry, it's just I've done some digging into Jenkins in the past, and so I'll just calling out some of my experiences there. But yeah, you got him in order for me.
Same. I took the words out of my mouth, Jake, with having him in order. Jenkins is a great like best ball player because he either has a 40-point game or a 4-point game, whereas the other two, and McKinney's been having tremendous games the last few weeks. So yeah, definitely Curl and McKinney for me this week too. Good luck, Clint.
Yep. Good luck. Thanks. Enjoy the games. Yes, absolutely. That's the great thing. I was telling Jeff, my team's pretty much shot this week in my main league. And then, so like, I'm just at a point where like, I've resided to the fact I'm going to enjoy football because just for football. But we'll root for Jeff's guys today then, since he's got, I think he said 22 of his 23 fantasy teams are in the playoffs. Or
I didn't want to post that on Twitter because I didn't want it to melt down, so I just decided not to say that. But
all right, Zia circling back. Jamal Adams or Honey Badger. Seattle's Monday night against the
Philly.
Eagles. These are both. I honestly, I think I'm going to go Jamal Adams here. He's just, I like that he's given a pretty consistent tackle floor and pretty consistent usage too. He's really struggled as an NFL player. He's really been attacked in the passing game the last few weeks. Honey Badger has had a couple splash games this year, so I definitely get the, if you're like, I just really need the big upside, I could get behind Honey Badger a little bit, but I just like Adams overall more. Better range of outcomes, I feel like, for me this week. And again, I think I talked about it earlier in the show. I think that the Eagles get back to running the ball a bit more in this matchup, which Adams, that's where Adams can shine more than in pass coverage. So
yeah, 100%. Like where Adams has been playing 100% of snaps in 3 of the last 4 games since he came back from injury. He came off the field for 1 play and was right back in. He's a terrible graded football player. He's terrible at tweets too. He's just making some really poor choices online. But I think opposing defenses or opposing offenses attack him just because he is such a poor graded player at this point. I think last week he was the 25th out of 25 defensive players for Seattle graded out for PFF. So he's like legit like the bottom of their team. But if I'm an opposing offensive coordinator, guess who I'm going after? That's the guy that I'm going after. So.
Yep. I mean, I hate to, obviously here I'm 38 sitting in a basement, literally talking about stuff on a microphone and my computer. But Jamal Adams has really turned into a one-trick pony, right? So I hate to try and judge this, but he's a downhill player at this point. And that's his strength, right? And that's all you can do. The other aspects of the game, when they try to disguise him or cover him up in other ways, you just can't. And like you said, other offensive coordinators are well aware of this. And yeah, he is going to get abused because of that. So, which just leads to potential more opportunity.
Just made me feel really old, Jake, that you're only 38. So
I still creak and crack with the best of them every time I wake up every morning.
My office is upstairs because I can't get downstairs. So that's why I can't have a downstairs office. So
I know what I'm getting Jeff for Christmas. One of those chairs that you can sit down and they go slowly up and down.
No, I've seen this movie called The Gremlins where you don't want to have one of those.
Holiday classic, The Gremlins.
Oh, here we go. So is Die Hard a Christmas movie for you?
That's why I said it, because I know people get, it's like, is a hot dog a sandwich, right? Like people just get crazy about these topics. So, all right, Office Depot coming in. Hit the like, good people. Yeah, appreciate anything you guys can do. Always love the chance to just chop it up here. So, this was for the Jamal Adams. I'm guessing 2-point tackle, 5-point tackle. The scoring is relatively across the board for me in terms of my decision, right? Like, or my decisions across the board, impartial to the scoring. Then Noah, thank you for the help, fellas. Got to go to lunch. Hopefully I'm here next week and not eliminated. Yes. I hope everyone is cycling back next week and you're bringing, well, no, don't bring the other people, right? Because then they're going to know their lineups, what to do. Just everyone come back because you're all moving on to week 16 and enjoy lunch. You should get, I'm going to go with Mexican today. That's what you should be getting.
And even if you are limited, come back anyway, just because we can look at dynasty stashes for next year. We can start looking at, like those players that are trending in the right direction for like guys you want to stash. So
nice. Zia, thanks guys. Jeff been oh boy, here we go. Wow. Jeff, been following your IDP advice all season. You are my go-to now. 5 out of 5 dynasty playoffs. I tell you, Zia, I mean, this is the smart thing to do.
This is my burner account. So just
okay, Kevin Durant. But Zia, thank you for tuning in, and I'm glad Jeff's been helping you out. Side note, he's as awesome as a person as he is an IDP analyst. Aww. So just for you folks out there, you gotta love this guy. He's awesome. All right, Isaiah coming in full PPR, CEH, Keaton Mitchell, Aaron Jones. And should I start both Evan Engram and Kittle, or flex Marquise Brown, Adam Thielen, or Romeo Doubs? Also Fields or Lawrence. All right, let's break this down. We'll start because it looks like we're going to go position by position. I don't see any flex. Well, there's some the the Ingram Kittle portion. But I guess we'll start with the running backs, right? So CEH, Keaton Mitchell, Aaron Jones. To me, I gotta look Aaron Jones' status, but go ahead.
He's trending in the right direction to play.
Okay.
And Dylan's kind of banged up too, so they're kind of which way are they
Broke a
going to
finger
go?
on his primary hand, didn't he?
Yep. So
Yeah.
if he's out, that's a great opportunity for Jones to kind of reestablish himself. I love Keaton Mitchell, the way they've been utilizing him in the offense.
Yep.
I just hesitate with the volume that Jones is potentially going to get in his first game. First game back could be,
Yep.
you know.
Yeah, I think I'm Mitchell, AJ, CEH. That's where I land. I like CEH's potential volume, but they showed last week when they got into the red zone that McKinnon actually, I think, outsnapped him 7-2 is what I heard from another source, but I'd have to double check that. But I mean, if that's truly the case, right? I mean, those are the super valuable touches, and I don't know that CEH has big playability in between the 20s that we're looking at that. So for me, yeah, Mitchell, Aaron Jones, CEH. Yeah, that's how I land.
I'm looking at the tight ends. So Ingram or Kittle. Kittle's a must start this week, I think, regardless. He's got a great matchup. And
I feel like Ingram's a must start. So
that makes sense.
So maybe are we flexing? So are we combining our mighty powers here?
Brown over either of those two guys.
I don't think I would start. I wouldn't start Thielen. I mean, even in full PPR, I know that he had a little bit better week last week. What was it, like 5 for 74 or something like that? But I mean, Ingram showed that he can be a focal point of that offense with Christian Kirk out. I still like him too much to put him in over Thielen. You could maybe argue Dobbs is, where was Christian Watson?
With Watson out. Watson's out.
He's doubtful. Is he officially out?
He's out. Yeah. Mom said that he couldn't play this week, so
you could you could strong arm me into Dobbs over. See, I would go Ingram, and then I would flex in Dobbs, but I'm guessing you would go Kittle and maybe flex in Dobbs, or would you stay Ingram over Dobbs?
I would keep Ingram. I think Lawrence being limited mobility wise, I think he doesn't get to the outside, where that kind of hurts those longer downfield routes for Ridley and Zay Jones. Whereas then he's like hitting Ingram, and we saw that the last week where he just got peppered with targets. He got his first touchdown of the season. I do like Dobbs this week with Tampa Bay secondary. Is they basically have they have you and I out there as defensive backs this week. So like I think that there's a good chance. And then if Aaron Jones isn't 100%, it's going to be a lot of pass volume with Jordan Love, and you beat Tampa through the air for sure. So, So long story short, so where are you going, Jake? Your running back is Keaton Mitchell.
Yep.
You're starting Ingram.
Yep.
And are you flexing Dobbs over Kittle?
I think I'm going to. I'm gonna go Dobbs.
Okay. I'm going to go, just to play devil's advocate, I'm going to go Aaron Jones, and I'm going to keep both Ingram and Kittle in as my tight end and flex.
I like that. So, I mean, what that means, right? I think, Isaiah, you got to get Ingram in your lineup is what we're landing on for sure.
Yep.
Then you're splitting the difference on Keaton Mitchell, Aaron Jones, right? Do you like Jones as the pass catcher? Can he succeed against that Tampa Bay defense that way, since it is full PPR? Mitchell definitely is the clear number 2 snap wise, but that the numbers have been trending there. So do you buy his utilization? I think we're a full pass on CEH. We're passing on Brown and Thielen. So then it comes down to, in that flex, do you like Kittle or Dobbs better? And that's really what it is.
Last piece on this one, Jake. So if he needs safe points, is it Kittle? And if he needs a home run, is it Dobbs? Or do you feel Dobbs has a very safe floor?
Yeah, sorry, I heard you backwards. Yes, Dobbs is the safer play in my opinion. I think fully healthy, the Niners have so many options. That game script could easily flip into, they're just grinding it out with CMC and Mitchell or whoever else they got back there by the second half. Not that it's a full stop, right? Like they're not attacking downfield. I mean, they've shown that they still attack when they're up late in games still too. But I just think you could see Kittle's. It's sporadic for me, right? Like it's the lack of consistency and the targets being funneled into Jaden Reed, Dobbs, maybe down to Tavian Wicks a bit. Dobbs is a safer play for me this week.
And I kind of lean the opposite, because I see like with Packers offense being spread out so much, they almost forced Jaden Reed to get the ball. You know, they've been using a lot of wicks, you know, so Dobbs has had like 1 or 2.1 double-digit game in the last like 3 or 4 weeks. So whereas like Kittle has had 22, 26, 7, 12, and 18. So to me, I feel that Kittle is a safer option. So that's why I was kind of leaning Jones. Sorry.
I think no, you're good. I think we lean with Kittle then, right? Because if I'm gonna default anyone on Packer consideration knowledge, it is definitely this man here. So I think that's
you're closer to Green Bay than I am.
only physically. All right. Well, then we got Fields or Lawrence. This is Fields for me. The rushing upside is too good. And
Lawrence
team has been
hobbled.
playing well. Yep. So, unless
Sorry,
you really want to stack with
long-winded answer.
Yeah, unless you want the stack, right? If you're playing that type of strategy, that would be the only thing I think bumps it. So, all right, we got to move on. Yeah, we're too long-winded here. Dynasty Daddy wondering, what's your thoughts on Speed versus Franklin rest of the season? Yep. So we did talk about this a little bit earlier. Just recapping at high level, Speed is a great play rest of the season. I kind of got him in that LB2 range. Jeff, you said there, maybe even a little bit higher or upside for that. So I think Zaire Franklin is still someone he's probably just not in that top 10 consideration anymore. If anything, they're probably just 2 LB2s moving forward, which is still very good. It'll just be a question of who's the guy this week, right? But it's definitely something to pay attention to moving forward.
And the Colts have Atlanta and Vegas the next 2 weeks. So Atlanta, that could be a good game for them as far as like game flow, because Atlanta typically runs the ball. They're a top 5 matchup right now for opposing linebackers and things like that. So that's a solid option for them. And then in your championship week, they're playing Vegas. So not as great of a matchup, but I like, back to the question about Speed and Franklin. I just think, like you said, Jake, they're kind of the same player right now. Mm-hmm. If you're having to decide between 2 of them, it's really hard to start Franklin or not to start Franklin over Speed just because of the upside and things like that. So I still have Franklin ahead of Speed, but like you said, they're more LB9 and LB15, so they're very close.
Yep. So. Awesome. All right. Bill coming with, would you also be playing Levante over CJ based on Tyreek status? Lloyd over Levante a given? Bill's back. Let's see. Would you be playing Levante over CJ? I think it's Devin Lloyd, right? I mean,
I think
yeah. So I mean, it would be Lloyd for sure. I'd probably still go CJ over Levante. So it'd be Lloyd, Mosley, Levante, David would be my order of them this week, given just what we know right now.
Lloyd, Levante, CJ. Is that how you said them?
No, Lloyd, CJ, Levante.
Oh yes, yep, 100%. That's how I would have them ranked too.
Okay. I just realized it's IDP. It's okay, Isaiah. That we work for the IDPshow.com, but we will answer all questions to the best of our ability, because I'm sure Jeff, I think, I don't know if you play any IDP only leagues, but everything I play is mixed, right? So that's my favorite way to play fantasy football is IDP and offensive combined. So you can always ask any of the questions. We every week we get a handful of offensive only questions, so no concerns there whatsoever. And then, okay, thanks for help. Yep. So obviously you heard our 37-minute diatribe, Isaiah. So we're good. Bill, you guys seem excited to talk about offense after all the IDP. Nice. All right. So we got McKinnon versus Marquise Brown. That's McKinnon for me. I talked about it earlier. He got the rushing touchdown last week inside the red zone, and they've shown in the past, even when Pacheco was healthy, a willingness to utilize McKinnon inside the red zone. So I mean, with Pacheco out and CEH just getting very, very little run inside the red zone, I think even though the Patriots have a very good overall team defense too, I still think the Chiefs will find a way to get into the red zone a handful of times this week, because Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, and that just McKinnon's going to have the better opportunities overall. I know that the Niners are susceptible to wide receivers at times on the outside. Brown has just been so up and down this year, and most of it down. And coming off the foot injury, and he struggled with a feet injury most of his last 2 years. I can't get behind Marquise at this point.
Yeah, Marquise played only like 50-some% of snaps last week. I was trying to find what is his availability this week, or how is he trending?
Let me see if
I think regardless, like you said McKinnon was definitely the call, but I just trying to find Marquise Brown status for today.
So he's officially questionable. DNP on Wednesday, limited Thursday, Friday. So
yeah, I think McKinnon. Andy Reid just seems to love that guy and just seems to get him involved. Even when Pacheco was healthy early in the season, McKinnon found a way to kind of be relevant in snaps and getting like those vulturing of touchdowns. So now with Pacheco out of the way for this week, for sure, I think, and they had a whole week to game script for it. So I think pretty creative like that. So
I'm with you. All right. Well, Jeff, that's we've ran out of questions. We're at the hour 15 mark. It's usually kind of where we cut her. Any final words of wisdom before we depart?
None. It's just been a blast shooting IDP questions with you once again, Jake. You got to see a WNBA player score her first points last week, so that was exciting, I bet.
My daughter was at a basketball tournament, and she made her first basket of the season. So, it was a blast. Thank you for stepping in as always to man the full ship by yourself. I know it can be a lot, so appreciate that. And we appreciate all you that came out, those that are still listening, or those that check us out after the fact. Always love having your questions and appreciate your time with us. So hopefully we see every one of you back next week. And until then, good luck in your fantasy playoffs, everyone.